Well, hello and welcome to the final of this pack of Cigar Professor. I think we're on pack 22, and this is the third cigar in this pack. And much to my amazement, you will not be having me give you a monologue tonight. And even more shockingly, Omar is early. I think this might be a first, might just be a first. He's always been on every show. I'll definitely give him that, but he's actually early and waiting backstage. But so you don't have to listen to my voice the whole time, let me bring in Professor Topher and Professor Omar. How are you?
Gentlemen, doing very well. Yourself?
Not too shabby, not too shabby.
Not too shabby indeed. I've got my celebratory cap on. I'll be wearing this a lot as I travel around the US. See whether it gets me high fives or punches in the face. That'll be an interesting little social experiment for 9 weeks while I'm over there.
Possibly a little bit too intellectual for the masses.
I think, given that they're just about to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776, I'm going to say that they're going to have an unusually high level of awareness of what 1776 means. Look, as for 1984, that's anybody's guess.
Look, I can guarantee that if you go to some cigar lounges, at least they'll have the caliber of conversation that you're chasing with that cap. I can guarantee it.
Well, I tell you, I will be spending some time in some cigar lounges while I'm over there. I'm not planning it in advance, though. I'm just going to be searching as I go, finding them as I go, and just, you know what? I'll just go to the small ones, try and find the hidden gems, the little ones hiding in back streets, so to speak.
Absolutely. Some of the best cigars I've had are in those places.
Now, Omar.
Yes.
Can you pipe down, please? You're dominating the conversation.
No,
sorry, it's been too long. I haven't said that to you in a very long time. I really felt like I was missing out.
No, I was thinking, and while you're talking or speaking or whatever, dribbling, I thought it might be a good idea with this hat, because as you're going past, the punches might fix your face, you know. You might start to look good.
Omar, with friends like you, who needs enemies?
Nah.
Mr. Stew, welcome. Welcome, Mr. Stew. So Omar has been on every show. He's the undisputed.
He's not missed a single show. I cannot even take that record off him.
No, and your record's a lot better than mine. I am now the sluggard of the group without question. But I'm going to say, whilst showing up is good and virtuous and polite and all the rest of it, as my school teacher back when I used to go to school used to say, if someone showed up with lollies, Omar, did you bring one for the rest of us? we just come in here and you're already halfway through a stogie. Have you got some for the rest of us? You going to share?
Yes, I do.
Oh, but you got to come and get it.
You just have to come and get them. That's the dear, oh dear. Tony, good to see you. It's been a long time for me anyway, and probably not as long for the others. Swarf Boy 71. I'm going to be honest, I don't think we've met. Hi, I'm Topher. Nice to see you and welcome along.
Welcome.
Well,
so Omar,
yes, sir.
Have the first two in this pack lived up to your expectations?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And I was pleasantly surprised with the Connecticut, because Perdomo cigars consistently make you believe that Connecticut is just not an average stick. It's not a beginner. You know, the transitions and the progressions that you go in Perdomo Connecticut, phenomenal. And I was saying off air that it kind of almost blurs the line between Connecticut and a sun-grown.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not taking away from the sun-grown. It's always good. But
the
Connecticut.
But that is a feature that I'm going to say is pretty unique to Perdomo because of what you said. Like, they do the Connecticut's so well. There is just so much more going on typically with them. Damo, I'm not going to ask you how you've gone in the first 2 months of this pack because, well, show us your T-shirt. Go on, show us your T-shirt.
There we go.
He is a merch-wearing Perdomo fanboy.
Yes.
And I wouldn't lower myself to merchandising and being paid by foreign influence their brand on my show. I would never do that. But obviously,
no, especially not when you got like cutters and lighters, so.
no, I wouldn't. Oh, you can't even see it. There's not enough light. There you go. I wouldn't. I wouldn't be merchandising on a show like that. That would cheapen my status and my brand. I wouldn't do that. All right, we have someone watching on Rumble, Baron SS.
Oh wow!
Now, Swarf Boy's giving us a bit of background. Hey fella, I'm Stu's mate. It's probably not something I'd say publicly. Probably keep that to yourself in future, just between you and me. But welcome. Thanks for coming along. Yes, you probably do have one of mine. Now, so does that mean, Swarf Boy, does that mean that you have one of this month's cigars, or are you smoking something different today? Let us know. And do you smoke a lot? Are you pretty new? Like, just give us a bit of a rundown, because we love newbies. We love people coming along. And we do actually love Stu. We love giving him a hard time, but we do actually love him.
The only reason we let him comment is so we can give him a hard time.
That's right. We can have a bit of a chat, get to know you. There you go. There is a familiar name and a familiar face to those of us that know him. David L is in the chat as Baron SS today.
David L. Just the L. That sounds like a rapper.
Mr. Lionhelm, I believe.
Yeah.
It is really not raw on this cigar. I just cut it, just doing a cold draw to check it out. It is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, it's been a while since I've had a cigar with a draw that I would consider perfect, but tonight's cigar, definitely.
I'm
just going to zoom my camera out just a fraction. I think I'm a bit too big. My head's already big enough. It doesn't need to be any bigger.
Yeah. The less we can see of you, the better. All right, I'm going to give this a good little toasting.
Hey, draw is perfect too.
All three of us. The construction. I mean, this is one of the Perdomo sort of signatures, though, is that you are very, very unlike. For many, literally for years, I said I've never had a badly constructed Perdomo. And then eventually, after many years, it did happen. But gosh, it took years and a lot of sticks.
And you know what? Even though I have had, I think, one, it was still smokable. It was an effort, but it was still smokable. Whereas Cuban bad cigars, doesn't matter how much you fight, how much you roll it, how much you massage it, how much you bloody
plug down.
It's gone. It's throw it in the bin and move on.
And look, to be honest, the one Perdomo that went bad on me, it went bad in the form of splitting and disintegrating, and that can indicate perhaps at some point in its life it wasn't stored correctly for a couple of months. And the tobacco never really recovers once it loses that oil. So it might actually not have been a manufacturing error. It was just an error at some point in the supply chain. I don't mean to alarm everybody, but we have a new person. We have someone who's new to cigars. Well, then double welcome, Swarf. Not just welcome to the Cigar Professor. Welcome to the cigar hobby. Let us bore you to tears with descriptions of flavors and smoking techniques. That's what we do here at the Cigar Professor. We are
there are no dumb questions, so ask away. Everyone's at different points on their journey, and we're all here to share our collective knowledge.
Boys, what a light up. What an absolute gorgeous light up. It's got when the Maduros have a really thicker mouthfeel and profile, this is more of a refined, but more so for like as if almost you're having a Davidoff to me. I'm actually I'm blown away that for such a dark wrapper, it has such refinement inside. It's so
that
beautiful.
is for me, that is remarkably light as a Maduro light up. There hasn't been a hit of spice. There also hasn't been a hit of dried fruits. It doesn't have that really intense sweetness. And I don't think that's I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm actually finding this very, very complex, but I am blown away by the foot smoke.
Yeah. But But when
Like-
you said there's no sweetener, I'm actually getting straight on the light up, more of a dried fruity
Fig.
peel. Yeah, dried fruity.
I'm getting hints of chocolate brownie,
Yeah,
fig, and some baked spice in there. It's an unusual combination. I don't think I've ever encountered that combination of flavors
absolutely. And
at the same time.
I don't think it comes off woodiness of a musky cedar type of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there's leather on the finish as well.
So for me, not the fig,
Wow.
but definitely the timber notes, definitely that chocolate brownie. I can see where you're getting that from. Definitely, it does have that baked sense, but it's not bakery. It's not the Connecticut bakery.
Fuck. It is wow.
Mm.
Man, this light up and just lit me up. I was like, what the hell happened just then?
Definitely saves it. Wow, look at that. Look at that ring right at the start. Mate, Nick must have worked hard to pack that ring in so close to the light.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that was actually my second one. You missed the first one.
My goodness. 2 and you haven't even got an inch in.
I know. It's just the tip.
Wow.
We're in for a good night.
Pete,
how are you? Good to see some progress is being made on over on Rumble. We've got a couple of people watching on Rumble.
Oh yeah. This is a flavor bomb right there. It's the smoke production's gone up. It's getting the feel of the thicker, more of a deeper smoke inside. It's wow, man. That's just banging right now.
Yeah. That is definitely one of the most complex light ups I think I've had in quite some time.
Yeah, definitely. Very
Okay.
strong.
It's evolving. Obviously, I'm building up not even a centimeter of ash yet. That sweetness has begun to come in for me. So I'm beginning to get a little bit more of that dried fruit, but it is really at the very dried fruit end. This isn't even your trail mix kind of, sultanas. This is properly heavily dried, like homemade dried fruit that you left in there for a bit too long. It's really, really intense. And weirdly it's sweet, but it's not a sugary sweetness.
No.
That sweetness has just got a little bit of a transition on me now. It's just I'm having trouble trying to pick whether it's the same sweetness with a little bit of a vanilla note in the background, or whether the sweetnesses might have changed to a little bit more like a burnt honeycomb sort of sweetness. But it's just drifted that little bit for me. But it's still incredible.
It's absolutely incredible. I think it kind of like intensified the whole entire profile. So it just stepped up a few notches. Where we left it at the beginning is when boom, more smoke, thicker, better feel. Wow. Russ, this is just so wonderful.
Yeah, Daniel, you're definitely picking up all the same notes that we are. You got a great palate there.
Wow.
You know what? This is just a fabulous advertisement for a Maduro. And it strikes me that if you had someone who'd been smoking for a little while, and as so many of us are, and I know I was, you're in the Connecticut's, maybe you're doing sun-growns, maybe even Cameroons, but you're kind of scared of the Maduros because there's this perception that it's gonna just be too intense. Yeah. This is the way to introduce somebody to a Maduro. They won't actually get all the complexity right off the bat, but they will discover that this is rich without being overpowering.
I don't know what it's possible to overpower, but I know where you're coming from. But this is in a very, very long time. It is absolutely phenomenal. It's just what happened.
Yeah. How long have these been in your possession, Damo?
Not that long, actually.
Okay, they're pretty fresh.
I think these landed January or February.
Because another reflection is it's not uncommon when we have the Maduros that we sit here saying it needs another year. Give it another year. It's great, but it'll get even better. Whereas if I had a box of these, I'd be very happy just to smoke through them now, right? Exactly as they are.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I think it hasn't happened to us for a long period of time. I think I can go back at least 10 shows where we were talking about shit. We were just chin wagging, chewing the fat, and we were just like, what the fuck, you know. But this one is it just wants you, it forces you to speak about the cigar. Say, hey, I'm here and you need to speak about it. It's all about. And that's all. That's all I'm gonna say. This is just not let me go.
And can we just appreciate this band on the cigar? One of the challenges that cigar makers have is how do you encapsulate history without just mimicking and ripping off what people expect? You know, your Romeo and Juliet type of band, even your Cohiba types of bands. Yeah. There's kind of these tropes that are expected. And I just find it really wonderful that they've got these chocolate brown sort of colors. They've got this sort of tan in the middle. It's almost like a parchment sort of a tan. And yet with that highly reflective blue and the design, it still feels modern. They've copied no one. This isn't an imitation of somebody else's branding. This is all fresh. It's all new. And it's I just think it's wonderful. And also, it's loose.
Yeah.
There's no overglue. I know that when the time comes, this will come off and it's not going to rip a hole in my cigar.
Yeah. Stuart made a comment about the foot smoke. It's almost got like a cedar wood incense note to it.
Yeah, I think it's with the hardwood, with deeper aromatic muskiness and all those things.
Yeah,
come to my mind. I'm actually not even considering the damn foot smoke. That's how much I'm enjoying the cigar.
Okay, if you go into like a really good, probably very expensive, and you'll understand why as I explain it, Whole Foods type of store, where everything's in big wooden tubs and you scoop it into your own containers that you brought. So all the aromas are mixing. You've got your spices over there and your grains over here and your this and that, but it's all dominated by the actual timber of the barrels, the tubs, all of that. That's what I imagine that would smell like. It's just this really warm, inviting, rich, natural, far too complex to break down to any single aroma.
Yep. Absolutely.
Wow.
Stu, we all know that Nick's favorite is Damo.
No. Not after he saw Omar's beard.
That'll do it. Rookie mistake, Damo. You shouldn't have let him see it. Yeah, so Rumble won't show you the comments on YouTube. It'll just show you the comments that people make on Rumble. We get all of them. So no matter where someone's watching, Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, we get all of them and we can put them on the screen. But each platform, you're only going to see the comments that go up on that platform.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I do appreciate what Topher said about the band and the thought process that going into it. The colors, you know, the descriptiveness of it. That's wonderful. But you know, things aside, comments aside, the actual freaking cigar is so good. I mean, if I had no band on it, I would still say, man, someone's got to buy that shit and smoke it. You know, if zero band on it, I'm still smoking it. You know, this is good.
A Perdomo by any other with any other band would smoke a sweet. It is an absolutely magnificent stick, regardless of the band. But I do just appreciate it. It's a funny thing. I'm starting to appreciate branding a little bit more as I've done more. I've done a rebrand. I've developed a whole bunch of new merch, of course, with the help of Carly. Some of you know who she is. She's my designer, but we're working on brand, and I'm thinking a lot more about brand and packaging and boxing and how the experience of opening a package and the experience of looking at a row of cigars in that beautiful box with the beautiful bands, all oriented the correct way. The way that they package them up to start with, that is all kind of part of the experience and part of the care that goes into these things that we love so much. And I just think Perdomo do it ever so well. One second.
Even the boxes, the boxes are wonderful. Perdomo boxes always been 10 out of 10.
Actually, when Topher comes back, I'll go and grab one of the boxes, bring it out. So
commenting
What if
about
I
my
gave you the
They're
chocolate?
really, really nice boxes.
Demo, isn't it been great?
Oh, you got one.
I think that's what he want to get.
Is that the lot
Have a
23
look.
box?
No. This is the Estate Selection sun grown. But have a look at that presentation.
Move it. Move the box.
I mean, sorry. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, it's holographic. I'm getting rainbow colors coming off the middle. It's got that sort of sail flap there. You flip that over, and there used to be all the cigars. Obviously, they've got up in smoke for some strange reason. Someone keeps smoking my cigars, and if I find him, we're going to have a stern conversation. But I mean, you get this beautiful box with this. None of this embellishment is necessary. Yeah. None of it actually changes the cigars, and yet it definitely changes the experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the lot 23 there.
Absolutely.
I just think they're magnificent.
Every box they do is different in it. I don't know.
So they're actually designed to sit on the shelf inside the store like that.
Yeah.
That folded down with all the cigars. So when you walk into the cigar shop, they've got the Maduro, and next to it the sun-grown, and on the other, and next to that's the Connecticut, and then in height order, going from the shelves down to the different vitolas.
Yeah,
that's good.
So cool. So, what's happening with these woodies?
That is a good question. Well, there's only one. Only got one for Omar. So,
okay. So, Omar, when are we doing a 24-hour-long cigar professor marathon with you smoking the woody?
I'm thinking I've got a very special place in Sydney, a private room where we can smoke a cigar with phenomenal food. I had a cousin visit from Philly, and he said he travels the world. He's one of the executive for a U.S. tech company, and he said that was a top 10 meals he ever had.
Yeah, wow.
So, I mean, he goes to some of the top places. So, I can
have some idea.
Beautiful spot for you guys in Sydney, where you can sit inside indoors with some delicious food, great coffee. I could probably get you some of the best coffees you can have, as well as all in one.
Listen, you're talking a big game with Professor Damo right here. This is Mr. Coffee. This is the coffee professor. Yeah, that's a big boast right there, Omar.
I'm telling you, I mean, Damo knows some of the most exclusive coffees that have organized for him to brew in the world, not just in Sydney. So, yeah, I'm saying that if you guys are keen, when you want to pop in, you give me some notice, and I get that organized for you.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to make that happen when I'm back from the US in August. So this is a good question from Stu, and I think it's probably worth going over a couple of the basics. We have the privilege of being joined by someone who's new and interested in the hobby. So Swarf Boy says, is there many places that leave bands on? I got some from Queensland that did. Don't tell anybody. And I actually kind of mean it this time, as opposed to don't tell anyone you're a friend of Stu's. So the government requires that we put awful bans on cigars if they're going to be displayed for retail sale. If you can get cigars that have the pretty stuff, enjoy it. Enjoy the pretty bands, because the government is trying to get rid of them. What's the short version? Because we've smoked now a lot of different vitolas. We've done the really long, skinny ones, your Lanceros and your Lonsdales. These tend to be really long, and the gauge is quite narrow, and you've got to really regulate your breath. Otherwise, you could overheat them. But the flavor profile itself is different to, let's say, something like this. This is on the fatter side in terms of the ring gauge. What are from a newbie's kind of perspective? What are the differences?
The real finesse of the flavor profile is generally in the binder and wrapper. The fillers are sort of the workhorses, but they don't add that special sparkle, generally speaking. Yeah. And so when you actually have a different vitola, as far as diameter is concerned, what that's doing is that's changing the ratio of how much of the binder and wrapper there is to the filler. And different ratios will give you slightly different flavor profiles of the same tobacco. The difference in length just comes down to the smoking time. So if you're looking for a shorter smoke, you're going to go for something smaller like a Purito or a Corona size. But if you've got a good hour and a half to 2 hours to kill, you'll probably go for a Torpedo or a Churchill or something like that. And it's different for every cigar as well. We've found personally that the Oliva Serie V Milanio in the Lancero for us is probably the sweet spot. The next best Vitola is the number 4.
Correct.
Which is
I was going to say the same
basically
thing.
a Corona size stick.
Yeah,
all the others
which is
are
way
good.
shorter and a little bit fatter. Yeah.
Yep, all the others are fantastic. Don't get us wrong; they're all wonderful smokes. You definitely go back and have them again. But the real magic is those 2 ratios there. I would say that they're very similar because there is no smaller cigar diameter than the Lancero, and the next diameter up would be the number 4. Yeah. So it seems to reason why those 2 are probably the best 2, because that wrapper to filler ratio is very similar in both those cigars. The only difference between the 2 is the Lancero will give you a much longer smoke than the Corona.
Yeah. So this is actually, let me comment on that, and then we've got a great question here from David Lineholm. One of the fun things to do with cigars, especially when you're starting out, is when you find a cigar that you really enjoyed, that means that the blender, whoever sort of created that flavor profile, because there's 5 different tobaccos typically, sometimes there's 6, but there's typically 5 different tobaccos. 3 different tobaccos make up the fill. Then there's a binder around that just holds it together. And then there's the wrap, which is the bit that looks pretty. All of them add to the flavor in their own way. But if you find a cigar you really like, it means that whoever blended that cigar, their taste and what they're looking to create is something that you enjoy. So one of the things you can do is now just try and actually find all the different Vitolas in that cigar and then experience what does it mean when you have a narrower gauge, which means you have a higher ratio of binder and filler compared to the amount of, binder and wrapper compared to the amount of fill. Larger ring gauges have more fill compared to the amount of binder and wrapper. And so it's like you can kind of fine tune the flavor within that blend, if that makes sense. But we've got a great question here. Why doesn't the filler determine flavor? It makes up the bulk of the cigar. I would have thought it was central. My initial response to that, and I'd love to get both of your thoughts on this, is because the filler often is there to do other jobs. It's often there to provide structure. It's there to make sure that it stays alight and it doesn't just go out. Yes. So the burn profile, they're using the filler to fine tune characteristics other than flavor. They do add to the flavor, absolutely.
Correct.
But the priority for the filler, that they have other roles for that stuff.
Yes. So I did a little experiment with Whiskey Pete many years ago where we actually rolled a cigar with just wrapper and a bit of binder.
Yeah.
And the taste was unbalanced.
Yeah.
And you had to keep relighting the cigar.
Yeah.
You'd get a couple of puffs on it, then it'd die out, then you'd relight it again, and it would die out, you'd relight it again. It was actually quite an annoying cigar to smoke. So, but that being said, the fillers do contribute to the flavor, but what they will do is they'll have multiple cigars in the one type of cigar, and they'll change the wrappers on them, and it's amazing how the same filler but change the binder and the wrapper can make a totally different smoking experience.
I lose the ash challenge today.
The interesting thing that I think, obviously it's a very, very complex question to answer. I don't think it's even possible to answer the question accurately. But in saying all of this, I spoke to someone who's into rolling cigars for about 25, 30 years. They got into cigar industry 50 years ago and starting to roll and work with different blenders and rollers. They made a very interesting comment that whatever you boys have said, it stands. It's there's nothing true or false about it. It's all accurate and correct. The same token, the guy was saying to me, when you put things together, and I was touching on David Lineham's question as well, because you could actually use the filler of a very high quality too. So the quality of the filler also is going to be very dependent on what you do or what you get in the end, right? And they were saying it's about with the bunch of, you ready to roll, say, a batch of cigars, right? And you have 6 different leaves or 5 different leaves, right? For argument's sake, I said, you could make up to three. This number is going to scare you. 3 million different variations.
Cool.
Million.
Yeah, wow.
It's actually phenomenal. So we can
Yeah.
basically sit there and say, hey, this happens and this happens and this happens. When the roller sits down with the blender, they can determine so much from that. And what goes also into equation is the aging process of all the leaves, right? How were they cured and where they came from and their combination. I mean, is Cameroon going to go well with A, B, and C, or D, So there's, mathematically speaking, it's impossible to comprehend what can go right or wrong until you are a master roller or blender, for that matter. To have told us that I said, okay, Lancero is going to produce this, but it didn't, for example. When it came to Toro, it was just imperfection. So every cigar that's a type of cigar is going to have its own nuances, and that's the beauty of exploration of the cigars. That's how you go on a journey. That, hey, when I had 8 Fernandez, it was perfect until, as you guys said, with Milano, we were so hell bent on saying this was better, or number 4 versus that. The experience and smoking cigars, and then the final piece of puzzle is we all smell different things, we all taste different things, and the end of the day, it's going to come back to you or the person in question and say, hey, this is my taste and this is what I'm thinking. And no matter who which experts say this is the best, it's never going to be for person B, C, or D. So it is a journey. So you got to jump on it, and you're gonna try things and find your niche, find your beauty, find your that spot.
And that's a really great point to mention to anyone that's starting out in cigars. Whatever you enjoy, you're right. Yeah. Whatever you can taste, you're right. This isn't an exam with right and wrong answers. You find what you enjoy and the way that you enjoy it, and you go for it. Excuse me. And what you'll probably find is over time that will change. You'll start to become a bit more discerning. You'll start to notice things you didn't notice before. I started out smoking flavored cigars. There were these vanilla dipped, wooden tipped ones. And that lasted not for all that long. But then I started enjoying sort of other, infused cigars and these sorts of things. And I would drink port because I needed the sweetness of the port to offset the dryness of the cigars. I look back on that now and I think, wow, no, flavored cigars are way too sweet. I can't even smoke a flavored cigar now. They hit the palate too hard. They're too sweet. But back then, not only was I enjoying them, but I needed a sweet drink to go with them because I felt really dry. Fast forward a bunch of years and I'm smoking, very high quality cigars and I'm drinking whiskey neat, uncut. So obviously my flavor journey over the last 15 years has been enormous with regard to what I enjoy in cigars. But the important thing is, back then I was right. Today, I'm still right. And if I met me of 15 years ago who was enjoying port and flavored cigars, that person would be right. And that's a really important thing as you come into this journey. Some people want to tell you what to enjoy. Hey, let's share what we taste. Let's share what we enjoy, but don't ever let anyone tell you what you have to enjoy.
And on top of all that, Torf, as you're well aware, the boys are well aware that you have the same cigar 3 hours later in a slightly different temperature, it's going to be different, right?
Correct.
You had a heavy meal, and after that, you have a cigar. It's going to taste completely different. Yeah. And to top it off, and I say with all the due respect to people who are smokers, heavy smokers, their palate is impacted. A lot of chili eaters, their palate is impacted. Their sensitive parts of the palate is impacted by either it's heavy smoking or highly spicy chili food. So all of that is going to matter, and you're going to say, I don't taste this, but this person tasted this, and this person said this.
That's right. That's right.
So just we just suggest to people that it's a journey, it's a learning, it's a very people forget, and I myself included. What we forget, there is no other thing in the world, a commodity that goes through 400 to 1,000 hands. It's baby, nothing else, and you're gonna sit there and smoke the hell out of it, right? So appreciate it as long as we can, because if South American people starting to earn a lot of money, God knows what's going to happen. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm not saying they should.
No, I'm with you though.
multiple times a day. When I smoke one of those, I said, this is a privilege. This is nothing less than a privilege. And it's a great privilege. So welcome to anyone who wants to jump into this journey and actually appreciate and be part of it.
It's also worth keeping in mind, and Damo, this is something that you've talked about a lot. I mean, we've all talked about it, but and both you've both done farm tours, haven't you? Plantation tours with tobacco? Because I haven't yet. No, you haven't. Okay. I'm hoping to do that at some point in my trip, but I'm not sure it's going to work out that way because I'm not actually going into Central or South America. But anyway, this is genuinely one of the most natural products in the modern world. Yeah. This has not had any chemical treatments. This has not got any additives or fillers, unlike cigarettes where they add other things into it. That hasn't happened here. It is just tobacco. There's no paper wrapper that you're smoking along with the tobacco. This is just literally the leaves of a plant. Now, yes, you can get some that are infused and what have you. That's a different story. Normal tobaccos, your regular tobacco, cigars, this is one of the most natural products, and it is made in one of the most natural ways. There is so little interference outside of nature running its course. There's some fermentation, there's some aging, there's some time. Yeah, maybe they'll put it into barrels that have the remaining aroma of some port or some whiskey or something. Different growers will do different things to the tobacco to infuse it. But it is just this process of nature running its course, and man is simply partnering with nature to go, well, if we do it this way, then the natural process that runs its course will give me that result. There's no sort of machines giving you a manufactured outcome. And that's one of the things I absolutely adore about cigars.
The experience of the rollers and the growers span up to 100 years plus. Placencia family has been doing it for 150 years, for example, or plus. Right. And that knowledge that comes from the ancestors, the real knowledge of producing something so beautiful that requires expertise to the point that no other industry produces, period.
The nature of something that is so handmade is that you can only learn it by being hands-on. It's one of the industries that is going to remain a family industry for longer than most, just because if you're trying to enter this industry and let's say I decided, right, I'm going to become a cigar blender. I'm 44 years old and I'm trying to compete with people that grew up in cigar families, and they were standing there watching their dad blending and sniffing and restacking pilons of leaves fermenting. They grew up, their earliest memories involve that. And it would be very, very difficult for someone like me, even though I've been smoking now for lots of years, it'd be almost impossible for me to, in the next 20 years, catch up with someone who started this when they were 5 or 6 or 7 years old. And it will remain a family dynasty type of industry for a lot longer than most.
And the data bank or the knowledge bank, it's like probably none other industry, the best of my knowledge.
That's probably fair. Now, we've got some great questions coming through. So is filler tobacco grown with low flavor deliberately? So I might have said it wrong. It's not that they're deliberately using low flavor filler. They're not looking for low flavor filler. They're looking for other characteristics. Now, obviously, the flavor matters, and they're going to factor that into the blend. But they're picking those leaves on the basis that this one's going to add a bit more structure. It's going to help the ash to hang on for a bit longer and not drop off too fast. That one's going to keep it burning and keep it lit. The flavor matters. And sorry if it seemed like I was dismissing that. The flavor of the filler is really important.
Yes.
There's a tobacco plant. Down at the bottom there, they call them the Velado leaves. Next one's up are the Seiko leaves. Then the Viso. Then Ligero. And then the ones at the top, I think they call them Corona leaves. Yeah. Now, each of those leaves will have different characteristics because the bottom leaves end up getting shaded for a lot longer than the ones at the very top.
Yeah.
And also the ones at the very bottom grow bigger than the ones at the top by the time it's time to harvest. So what they do is they basically pick the leaves from the bottom as they start to yellow and then work their way up. So they'll do multiple pickings of the tobacco. And then they'll ferment the tobacco. And then once they've fermented the tobacco, it goes through different sorting by size of leaf, sorting by thickness of leaf, sorting by texture of leaf, sorting by color of leaf. And generally, the ones that become the outer wrapper, they're the best of the best of the best. because they have to be free of blemishes. They have to be big. They have to be very tough and but flexible. When I say tough, not as in thick tough, but as in stretchy and bendable and pliable. The binders are usually thicker again, but they still have to be very rollable. Whereas what you find with the ones that go into the filler, a lot of those leaves have got little holes in them. When you scrunch them, they crack and crunch. They don't actually roll. So the tobacco that's going in the middle doesn't have to have the same physical properties as the outer leaves do.
And the filler cracking is actually important for airflow. If you had a pliable leaf that never cracked and then you wrapped 3 of them together, the chance of there being a good draw through that is very, very low. So you really want very, very different characteristics for the leaves that you're using in these different purposes. But yeah, that's a great picture you've got behind you there, Damo, to sort of say it's not as though they have a genus of tobacco that is for filler, and there's a different genus of tobacco that is for wrapper and so forth. It's actually they're picking the leaves off the same plants that can be used for different purposes. This is actually a perfect illustration of this. The whole idea with a lot 23 is that it all comes from basically the same yard, the same paddock within the Perdomo plantation. It's their lot 23. And so all 5 of the tobaccos that are making up this particular cigar have all come from the tobacco plants that are all the same kind of plant planted in the same part of the Perdomo plantation. And yet they've created these leaves that have very different characteristics to achieve this blend.
That being said, there are particular cultivars of tobacco that generally produce better quality wrappers or better quality binders. Yes. And so they will grow particular strains when they're needing to be more heavy on producing wrapper rather than filler. There are other genuses of tobacco that are grown that are very good for filler material, and they have great burning properties that they just smolder and burn and don't extinguish, but they never grow the physical properties that would actually enable them to be used as a binder and a wrapper on a cigar as well. So Perdomo don't really say too much about the genetics of what they grow. That's their own
proprietary
IP. And most cigar manufacturers are like that, but there definitely are. When you go onto commercial agricultural sites where they produce commercial seed for sale, a lot of farms will generate their own genetics and keep growing their own genetics once they've developed it, but the raw material that they would have started with would have been commercially acquired. And then when you buy them, they'll say, this one produces a superior binder and wrapper leaf. This one is good slow burn for filler material. So they'll buy that on that and then crossbreed and make their own.
And then to make the matters more complicated, you could take the same seeds from the same commercial supplier, plant them in different climates at different elevations with different soil types, and you will again get different iterations and variations just using the same seeds.
And even the fermentation process as well.
Yep.
How often you cycle the pilons, what temperature you let it ferment to, how long you let it ferment to, the moisture content at which you ferment at. Like, there is just so many different levers that, like Omar said, you can take the same 6 leaves and make millions of different combinations. You can take the same the same batch of leaves that have harvested from the farm and give it to 10 different factories and end up with hundreds of different results as well. So
with all of that in mind, have a think about how incredible it is. And let's take Perdomo because we're smoking one. That Nick or whomever in the family can sit there and go, right, this is my blend. I've found the right variations of all the different leaves in this form, in these quantities to make this blend. And then the people that work on the plantation, picking, fermenting, rotating, etc. Because of course these are large operations. They've got typically hundreds of employees. It's a very, very labor-intensive process. That they are able to be so consistent in choosing, is this leaf ready to be picked or not? What category do I put this into? Where does it go into the production line? And therefore, that's going to determine where does it end up inside the cigars. And they've got consistent enough quality control with such a human endeavor that they can then make run after run of box after box of this blend. And yes, there is variation. It's a natural product. There's going to be variation, but they are all still identifiably that blend of cigar. That level of quality control is, I think, something we take for granted. And until you really start to understand what's gone into this, it's hard to imagine just the level of, I guess, precision is the only word I can use, to actually have done all the right things and categorized all the right bits of tobacco in the right ways and handled them in the right ways to create such a consistent product.
Well, it's not even that. It's just like when they're fermenting, like as with all food products that are naturally grown, every season, every batch is going to have slight differences because of the weather that season. And being able to ferment the product differently each batch to maintain consistency, to adjust the blend from season to season to maintain consistency. It just speaks of the countless generations and years and years and years of experience that's been passed down, that someone trying to get into the industry would not have at all, and would take decades and decades to accumulate. And that would include making mistakes, like, oh, we think we should ferment this batch a little bit more, and then, oh, bugger, we fermented it too much, or I think that fermented it enough, let's make the cigars, and then, oh no, it wasn't fermented enough at all. You can't exactly undo cigars and re-ferment them again. So it's just amazing the amount of knowledge that's there.
All right.
I lost mine just a moment ago.
It's gorgeous.
So we've got some great Ash related questions, and Omar, I might hand this one to you because you are today's Ash champion. Mr. Stew, and I want to string two comments together here. Mr. Stew says, so what's the importance to keeping the ash as long as you can? And what about people like Ralph Babette who continually roll off the ash on purpose? That's often a politeness thing. They don't want to drop the ash willy-nilly, is why they'll do that. But then Tony Yak down here says, a little bitterness after my ash dropped. Why would that be, Omar?
Look, Toph, just segue into this ash conversation, but just want to touch on what Damo said. The combination of inputs or variables, if you wanted to call it, are in millions, if not in billions. The Sumatran wrapper, which is a heirloom wrapper, like lasts for about 300 years. When you take it to Cameroon, it has a completely different profile, and it's called Cameroon wrapper. And now they hybridized the Cameroon wrapper back in the Central America, and it's completely different flavor profile. When the Cuban families or the Plasencia families and Fuente families, when they left Cuba, they had heirloom seeds that they took with them. They date back to at least 200 to 300 years. Those, that's priceless. Now, going back into the actual ash, there's, as you said, and I couldn't agree more, that's a politeness thing, particularly when you're sitting amongst in a sophisticated place and you don't want the ash to go all over you. It's a very common thing in London and Geneva. They continue the ash, but keeping the ash, they give you this incredible profile because you're not burning as quick. There is a shelter, if you want to call it, on the top of your cherry that keeps it mild, and your ability to extract flavor is at the highest possible level. Now, then we could probably shed more light onto it as well, but I think keeping the ash brings the flavor more consistently and more optimal level, to simply put.
So Damo, I want to get your thoughts on this, but my understanding of why that is, and this comes back to what Whiskey Pete shared with us. Whiskey Pete's a friend of the show, and he's a cigar and whiskey gun. Essentially, the art of smoking a cigar is trying to keep it as cool as you reasonably can without it kind of going out on you. And the cooler you can keep it, the more complex the flavors, usually the mellower and the more rounded the flavor profile is going to be. And having this big, thick layer of insulation there means that my cherry, that's the bit that's actually on fire, I don't have to keep it hot to keep it lit. I don't have to worry about this going out on me because it's insulated. Damo?
Yeah, well, when the ash drops, all of a sudden the burning face is exposed to the air instead of being insulated by the ash. That sudden amount of fresh oxygen getting straight in onto that cherry the first few puffs after the ash drops, it will burn a lot hotter. Hence why you're getting those harsher flavors when the ash drops. But then as the ash builds up, and relatively quickly, you notice those flavors start to settle down again. And it's exactly what you just said. It's insulating it so that it stays lit without having to be as hot. It just sort of smolders away, and really smoking a cigar is like playing a game of chicken with the cigar, the cherry. You know, you're trying to poke it just enough to keep it a light, but not enough to burn too hot, or not too little so that it goes out. And look, every cigar smoker will have a cigar and it goes out. The best thing to do is to scrape the ash off with a tool. The perfect draw tool is a great tool to use for that, or even just gently wiping it on the edge of an ashtray to clear off that ash before you hit it with the lighter again and light up. And that's a very, very common thing that every cigar smoker will experience at some point. It could be that you're just enjoying the cigar and you forget to puff on it. You start talking too much. You get distracted by something. Just sometimes you'll have a cigar that burns really, really well, hits one spot, dies out, you light it again, and it's fine. That's just the nature of, random leaves. You can't control it. It's not an industrialized commodity.
And I would say if you're getting into smoking and you're still kind of discovering, and if you've never had a cigar go out on you, you need to intentionally keep slowing down the rate at which you're smoking until you start having cigars go out on you from time to time, and then learn from that and try and keep it just lit. But if you've never had them go out on you, then chances are you're smoking them faster than you could. And that's not a terrible thing, but it just means you're probably missing out on the best that cigar actually does have to offer.
So it's not a total black and white rule, because I've had plenty of cigars that have broken this rule, but a good approximation on whether you're smoking too fast or too slow, when the ash drops, if the ash has a point coming out in the center of it, like a cone pointing outwards, that generally means that you smoked it too fast. The outside's burning quicker than the core material can burn. But if it's the other way around, where it's an inward facing cone where the center is burnt back but the outside is out full, that means you're smoking it too slow. You're not getting it hot enough to actually get that heat of the cherry all the way to the outside of the cigar. Now, I won't say that's always the case, but it's a good general rule. So if you're finding consistently on all the cigars you're smoking one or the other, then you'll know that you're either too fast or too slow.
I think what we haven't done is spoke about cigar in a while, and I think it's time to touch on it. But there's one habit, as we all said, that there's no right or wrong rule in cigar smoking, right? There's no one to tell you what is right or wrong, for that matter. But I think cigar smoking, it's just not a habit. It's a process. Yeah. It's a process, and it's something to be really indulgent. So there's one little thing I do suggest. It's not like a prerequisite or anything, but consistently fixing a cigar burns the wrapper. So I see them in lounges of people consistently, like 10 to 15 or 20 times, just touching the cigar. And when you start doing that, you are actually compromising the flavors and your mindset and the journey. So don't do that, but I'm saying that the more often you do that, that means you're compromising the flavor profile.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. It's not a hard and fast thing. Sometimes the cigar is just not quite burning right. If you're sitting on a balcony and there's a bit of a breeze, you can end up with a burn that goes a bit wonky on you, or sometimes just the actual cigar itself will go a bit wonky. There'll be a bit of a void in it, or a vein in the binder or the wrapper that'll cause it to do some funny things. Touching up is necessary sometimes, but you're absolutely right. And if you're consistently having to do it with all the cigars you smoke, then you might need to just, that can be an indication that you're letting it get too close to going out. And so kind of one side has kind of gone out, and then when you puff on it, it's only the other side that keeps burning. So those sorts of things are worth paying attention to as well.
Where's this baby at?
Okay. So we've got a great comment here from Daniel. Speaking of flavors, I'm picking up notes of coffee, still have the notes of dried fruit and some dark chocolate and mixed spice. I think I'm firmly in the dark chocolate and mixed spice. I think I've had less of a fruit profile than what you guys have had.
I definitely, I'm into the final third now, but through the second third, I was definitely getting a beautiful coffee note with a cedar and baked spice. But I've still got that beautiful, almost dark cooking chocolate sweetness there as well.
Yeah. I'm actually picking up a note that for me is a perfect match with your 100% chocolate. This is what I would have if I just had a nibble on your 100% chocolate whilst I was enjoying this cigar. It is absolutely spot on.
Topher, it's we spoke a little bit about, you know, the cigars and the tobacco and the cultivation and all that, but I'm probably getting slightly different what you guys getting because of the ash still sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah, just flex the ash, why don't you? Just make us feel bad about the fact that we lost our ash and you didn't. Yeah, go on. A little bit of a humble brag.
But what I'm trying to say is it's turning into a atypical, I shouldn't use this word, but I say this with all due respect to all the cigars and all the rolling and all of that comes with it. It's turning into a quintessential definition of a Maduro cigar. And it tells you that I'm a Maduro and I've got the profile of a dark chocolate, but I'm also getting that, you know, when you get the freshly roasted coffee beans and you chew on them just beans, the darkness and the aromas that comes with that to your palate is giving me that. And also, I mean, coffee roasters do it all the time. They'll have a little chew on them and say, oh, where's that? But with that, you have that sweet cedar muskiness deep in there embedded. So it is absolutely to perfection. There's one cigar that I probably would remember it for a very long time.
Yeah, this is actually better than what I expect from a Maduro, because I'm not a huge fan of the overpowering dried fruit flavor profile, and that's across the board. I'm not a big fan of coffees that go for the real kind of, oh, you can taste the stone fruit and the apple and the this and no. I want my coffee to taste like coffee. I like my cigars to taste like cigars, and so for me, this is actually better because it doesn't feature as much of that kind of syrupy sweetness that can come with some of them. Stu is reporting spice and white pepper, but an afternote of bakery.
Well said.
That fruit note for me, as I'm getting into that final third, actually tastes to me a little bit like dried pear. You know, you get those slices of dried apple or dry pear. It's got that sort of dry pear note to it.
I think this is all kind of blending into a leathery leftover palate. I just like a light leatheriness, like a refined, that refined leatheriness that aftermath of all of those flavors just kind of sits there, cedar and leather as well.
So Stu's been talking a little bit about purging and asked earlier, how do you explain the importance of purging? And then here he said he's purged a little bit and eased the pepper. So purging is when you just push a little bit of air the other way through the cigar. So you just exhale a little bit of air. And I would caution you against exhaling air from your lungs because that can be quite moist. If you're going to purge, you just do it with the air that's already in your mouth. And what that does, I do it quite a lot, but only a very, very small amount. I will do a very, very slight purge, literally as I puff. So if you watch the cigar, hopefully you'll see it. Did you see that little tiny puff of smoke that came out of the cigar before I actually drew? And this is a technique that I've found really works for me. And again, there's no right or wrong. You don't have to do this, but I've found that really works for me. I find the air that's been in the cigar for a little while can start to pick up sort of tar and other things that are going on inside the cigar. And so I actually like to just push that out the other way. It's very slight and it's very brief, but I push that out the other way so that then when I draw, I'm not getting whatever was already inside the cigar that's been sitting there for however long. I'm getting fresh air that's being pulled through the cherry and I'm getting the flavors that way. Now, again, that's not a right or wrong thing, but that's just my experience of it. Now, I'll also note I'm beginning to get quite a wonky burn here, probably because at some point I talked for a bit too long and didn't quite keep it hot enough. So I'm now going to heat the cigar up. I'm going to over smoke the cigar just for a minute or two, just to try and get the heat to distribute better and try and make it catch up without having to do a touch up with a lighter.
And I'm, boys, as you probably could tell, I'm smoking outdoors, and there's a little bit of breeze, and just going into original bellowing or Persian conversation. And I'll probably say I'm guilty of doing it a lot more than an average person does. And I consistently work with the cigar rather than making a habit of doing something. And at each moment, I figure that my cigar is slightly bitter or I'm compromised the flavor. I would do it immediately. And I started after the first third most of the time. And I would not stop until I'm at the sweet spot, for example, or the spot where I want it to be. And you kind of learn that as you go on. And every cigar would ask you to do it differently. So you rather listen to your cigar or feel your cigar rather than having a hard and fast rule. So there's no rule rather than you are going with your cigar.
Tony, where was the invitation, mate? I thought we were friends. I thought we were friends.
Yeah.
I actually want some roasted chestnuts right now as well.
Roasting chestnut on a campfire with Damo's chocolate with the cigar. I think we have to ban him. I don't think we can. No, I'm not getting one-upped by a subscriber. I'm sorry.
Sounds blissful.
Boys, I'm so keen to see the flavor change. So I'm going to ash this just to see where my first take me.
So we'll get your flavor report in just a moment. But Mr. Hsu says, Toph, you explained to me of a perfect draw, not this. This is also called a perfect draw, is having a red ring around the edge at night. I really like smoking my cigars in the dark because actually you can actually see what the cherry is doing, sort of glowing through the ash. And for me, what I tend, and again, not a hard and fast rule, I tend to check and make sure that I've actually got some glow all the way around the wrapper immediately after a draw. And if I haven't seen that for a little while, I'll then do a bigger draw. I'll do a double puff just to add a bit more heat back in until I just get that little glow of red. In broad daylight, you're not going to see it. And if you do see it, you've definitely overheated your cigar. But it's one of the reasons I like smoking in sort of dark rooms or at night.
Yeah, Roger. That's well said. Boys, after I let go of my ash, the slight amount of what I think, I'm not sure if Stu said or someone said about that slight pepperiness. I think that pepper, allspice type of white pepper, it's kind of getting a little, it's a slightly that, but the deeper dark coffee notes are still there with a bit of timbery cedar and leather. And I should say it again, this is one cigar that we will probably remember for a long time.
This is right up there. Yep.
One of the things that you'll also notice on a lot of cigars is if you do have to relight, when you've relit, you will get a pepper hit usually. And that's mainly because the temperature. You've heated that tobacco up hot again. And like, as I said before, when the ash drops, the oxygen gets in, the cherry gets hotter when it's right at the surface. And it's just a bit of a temperature thing that causes that pepper note to come through. That's why often on a light up of a cigar, not always, but often you'll get a pepper note in the first, minute or so of puffing on a freshly lit cigar. And it's just because of the oxygen getting in there, the heat of the cherry, and also the heat from the lighter lighting it up as well.
Yeah. So I hit that white pepper that Stu talked about earlier, and I have ashed it now, but I hit the white pepper before I ashed it. I was actually ashing it because I was curious to see what is the cone telling me about how fast I've been smoking. And as a general rule, you would assume that a cone like that means that I've been smoking it a little bit faster than what I could have, because you can see how the middle is kind of sticking out. But this might be one of the exceptions because there's other things about the way this is smoking that is suggesting to me that I might have let it go a little bit too cold. So again, none of these things are really strict, hard and fast rules. And in the end, if you're enjoying your cigar, then you're doing it right. That is the ultimate litmus test.
One of the things too that when you are smoking in the dark, which I've done plenty of times, you'll sometimes notice it's tasting good and then it starts to taste oddly different. And you get the light on your cigar and you'll actually notice that one side hasn't burnt down properly like the other, and that's because you're actually smoking only part of the tobacco blend, not getting the full ratio of wrapper and binder to it. And in those circumstances, the best thing to do is just the tip of a torch flame and just gently starting from the ash side and working down, just try and torch the tobacco until it's level with the rest of the burn ring. And then once you start smoking it again, it will settle back down and get back to that flavor profile you're enjoying.
Yeah. So you said before, Omar, that it's not smoking is not like cigar smoking is not like being a cigarette smoker. I consider it to be a ritual.
Yes.
And it's not a hard and fast ritual that there's a certain set of rules that everyone has to follow. It's your own ritual. And this is one of the reasons why I'm coming to appreciate more and more the presentation and the wrapping. I spend more time than I used to smelling a cigar before I've even cut it, and then cutting it and doing the cold draw and just appreciating the different aspects and the different moments that you can get out of a cigar. And then once you actually start smoking, one of the things I appreciate about it is it does require you to just give it a little bit of attention. You've just got to observe, what is this doing? What is this saying to me about how it's being smoked and about how it wants to be smoked? And that's going to be different every time. I'm indoors, the door is closed. I've got a nice still room at a nice moderate temperature. If you're outdoors in the cold, if you're on the beach in the breeze, if you're in different contexts, the cigar's going to want something different from you. And I find that to be a really healthy, like from a mental health point of view, I really enjoy cigar smoking because it brings me into the present and it brings me sort of into just paying attention to this little thing here. And for me, that ritual aspect of it is a really big part of why I love it.
Not only that, it also forces you to stop and slow down in life. You actually disconnect from your busyness of the day.
Yeah.
You can't be smoking a cigar and be busy working or be busy doing other things. You just want to ponder the cigar, pay attention to the cigar at the speed that it wants to burn at. But also, as you said, it's a ritual. It's a time where you can actually just enjoy the smooth, slow pace of life of having a cigar. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why my doctor actually told me I should probably smoke a few more cigars than I do, on the basis
That's a good
that
doctor.
he wants me to have more time in my weeks where I'm actually sitting down, stopping and doing nothing, and actually just sort of not being in the hustle or bustle of life and work and family and this, that, and the other.
Yeah. Yeah, very true.
What comes to my mind at that point is if someone, that's a question I've got on my text message as we speak, a private message, that what happens if someone who wants to smoke 8 to 12 cigars, so how do they do Topher thing, sit down and contemplate when you are putting in 8 to 12 cigars? How does that work?
A day?
Yeah. I mean,
well, you have one in each hand. I mean, you've got room for quite a few cigars between your fingers. You could sort of keep a fair few of them going all at once if you wanted to go that way.
Well said, Toph. I knew I could rely on you.
Not all of us have have the sort of budget for cigars that you must have, Omar. I think you are single-handedly keeping Australia afloat with the amount of tobacco excise that is going into the government coffers out of you.
Nah, but I couldn't agree with your boys that it's a ritual, and it's a very, very individual ritual, because rituals are usually based on other people, and this ritual is personal. There's no collectiveness to it. It's you and your cigar. And as Damo said, you could ponder, you can think, you could do things that you would not do otherwise, or think about things that you don't do otherwise, without losing your mind, so to speak.
The most amazing conversations that you will ever have with another man are when it's just the two of you and you sit down with a cigar each and no technology. Nothing else to do. Just sit down shoulder to shoulder with a little table in between you with an ashtray and something nice to drink. Light up your cigars.
That's a bravo. It's a double bravo on that. Bravo and bravo.
Yeah. No, you'll never have a better conversation with another man than what you'll have over a good cigar. Stu's made a good question here, because I'm going to rescind what I said. There is one rule in cigar smoking, and I cringe every time I see someone breaking this rule. do not light a cigar using a normal cigarette lighter. That's probably the one thing that I would say is a rule. You can use, if it's got sort of pure butane, you can use a soft flame like that. But this is actually different to a cigarette lighter. The gas that's inside a cigarette lighter has a flavor. And if you light a cigar with a cigarette lighter, it will taint the flavor that you do get. Butane
Especially
has
the
no
Zippo
flavor.
style ones.
Yeah. Butane, yeah. Anything that's running butane is okay. But what you want is what the cigar professor actually has in stock, and that is a soft flame that can then turn, you can't even see it. You can turn that into a jet. You can just see the jet. If I put it up to my hat, you can just see the jet there. All right, so this is a combination jet or soft flame lighter, but it's burning butane, so it doesn't change the flavor. Or you can use matches. You can use bits of cedar. So oftentimes if you buy a box of cigars, there'll be a layer of cedar in there, and you can just split off part of that and use that to light the cigars. Matches are completely fine, but I just keep a good supply of jet lighters and a good supply of butane handy to refill the lighters should they ever get low. And the key with lighting, like everything with a cigar, is to try and heat it up as little as you have to. Don't absolutely flame the crap out of it if you can help it. And oftentimes I'll use a jet lighter and I'll have it set with a fairly small flame, and I'll actually have quite a lot of distance, and I'll slowly watch the foot of the cigar slowly turning black. And I'm trying not to turn it white. White means that that particular bit of tobacco is finished burning. It's done. I'm trying to actually make sure that I get the whole thing lit and hot and black and get a cherry inside, trying to create as little white ash as I can. And that's sort of my way of trying to make sure that I'm lighting as slowly as I can.
When you're using either cedar splints or matches, you don't want the short matches. You want the long, like barbecue style matches.
Yeah.
And the reason is that you'll want a fair bit of time. You'll usually use 1 or 2 long matches and 1 or 2 long splints to toast your cigar. And that's not to get it lit. That's just to warm it up and get it ready to the point it's just about to ignite. And then on your final bit of the second splint or match, or on a third one, then you'll actually draw through the cigar and suck the flame into the actual cigar to get it lit up, while rotating it to try and keep it evenly lit. But exactly what you said, the best way of lighting a cigar is as slow as possible. I have been known to take 30 seconds to a minute to light up a cigar. If you light it up hard and fast, will you ruin the cigar? Not really for the length of it, but at least for the first minute or two, it will make the light up experience not as pleasant. Whereas if you take your time and do it, it will just be phenomenal from the first puff.
Yeah. If you're finding that your first couple of puffs on a cigar are really peppery, then that's probably an indication that you're shocking the tobacco a little bit too much. You're lighting it a little bit faster than what is ideal. Now, Stu asked about drink pairings. I've evolved enormously with my drink pairings, from tawny port, the sweetest, tawny ports, all the way through to whiskey neat. But my secret tip, and this is my one claim to fame, because I have not taught Professor Damo very many things in life. Professor Damo knows his stuff and knows an awful lot more about an awful lot more things than I do. But my one claim to fame is that it's only because of me that he discovered the magic of black tea with a cigar. And having a mug of black tea, and I'm talking like I just get the cheap supermarket black tea, like 4 cents a tea bag from Coles or Woolies. And I make that, and there is just something about the tannins in the black tea. It plays nicely with any cigar. It is just a wonderful thing to have. So I don't actually tonight, but I'll often have a mug of black tea, and then I might have a beer, or I might have a whiskey, and sometimes I'll have a red wine. I've got a red wine with me tonight as well. And just depending on what the cigar is. So because this is a Maduro, I was happier to have something like a red wine. I wouldn't have a red wine with a Connecticut, with a cigar with a lighter flavor profile. So it's about thinking about, well, what do you like? And what does the cigar like? What's going to play nicely with the cigar? But I would suggest universal, have a mug of black tea with any cigar, and just have that in addition to whatever else you've got. And it's a really wonderful pairing.
Well, tonight I'm having lemon and bitters, but what I've actually got, my bitters tonight are the Turkish tobacco bitters. So quite a nice combination. So it's sort of that sort of tobacco flavor profile in the bitters, and yeah, it's going very, very well with this cigar.
Yeah.
There's a debates and the conversations about pairing and what's a perfect pairing, and I think my second best probably is the black tea, and I always thought the black tea gives you a good combination with the cigar. But what takes the cakes for me is literally sip of sparkling water. What sparkling water does is cleans your palate and doesn't influence any flavor profiles, and that's like probably my biggest go-to. Yeah, perfect.
I always have some handy. Yep.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that.
It cleans your palate, A, and B, it doesn't influence any flavor whatsoever.
Yeah.
So you're actually getting the flavor of the cigar, unless you are, in a mood of doing something. There's definitely no right or wrong answer whatsoever. It's like what your palate likes and what you feel most
100%
in that personal ritual.
Yeah. Yeah, the number one question with a drink pairing is what drink is going to improve the experience for you? That's really the question. That's what you've got to ask yourself.
It's always good too, whenever you're having a cigar, to have something on standby with a little bit of sugar in it. So some cigars, not all, but some cigars will have a higher nicotine content, and you can get a bit of a nicotine buzz from it, which generally starts off making you feel a little bit lightheaded, a little bit dizzy. Then it progresses into a bit of a nausea sort of thing. If you start noticing that, slow down on your cigar. Even if the cigar goes out, slow down, get a little bit of sugar into you, even if it's maybe a couple of jelly beans or, just some tea with some sugar in it or some chocolate or something. And then usually if you get a bit of sugar into you and have that time for it to pass by and don't smoke the cigar as fast, even if you do have to relight, then you can usually pick up from where you left off for most people. Some people are more sensitive than others, but that's just a normal thing that every cigar smoker will experience at some point in smoking cigars, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just a normal function of this hobby. So.
Yeah.
Boys, we're in the tail end of it. I think we should discuss where the cigar at too.
All right. Definitely down the business end. If we were in America, Americans would have put the cigar down by now. But Americans pay a fraction of what we pay for our cigars. So here in Australia, we tend to smoke our cigars right down to the bitter end. And I wonder if that's even where the expression even comes from, because cigars do have a way of turning bitter towards the end. And the reason for that is because this part of the cigar here has had all of the smoke and all of the byproducts of the combustion passing through it. Every single puff, you're drawing more in. And some of that soaks into the tobacco up here. And so then when you light this tobacco, when the cherry gets to that tobacco, you're not just getting the tobacco flavor. By the end of a cigar, you're getting the tobacco flavor and the byproducts that have sort of accumulated in that tail end of the cigar. Not to mention, you've also got less tobacco kind of filtering between you and the cherry. So the combination of all of those things means that there's an expression in cigar circles, the cigar is turned. And what that means is you've reached the point where the combustion is now, there's enough other stuff in there that it's become a bit unpleasant. So I would never smoke a cigar past the point where I'm enjoying it. If it tastes like it's just about to turn, if you can just begin to sense that, that's it. That's the end of that cigar. But there are some cigars, and we've had plenty on the Cigar Professor because Damo's good at finding really good cigars, that you just want to keep smoking all the, like we've how many times have we ended up with little burns and blisters on our fingers and on our lips because we just want to keep going. We don't want it to end. So there's no right or wrong time. But as a general rule, we tend to smoke our cigars further than pretty much anyone else in the world does. There are many Americans who would leave the band on and they'll put it down as the burn approaches the band. They wouldn't even take the band off. But from our point of view, there's still $20 worth of cigar left. Why would I put it down?
Yes. Yeah. Interestingly, I vividly remember smoking Plasencia Reserva Original Robusto, and it was January sometime, beginning of January. I was overseas. I remember we burned our fingers that we couldn't finish. And this is right there as well. It has not turned on at all. There's zero turning, and I could basically burn my fingers and it'll still be fine.
As a general rule,
to when
So
a
you go.
cigar is a much tighter draw, or where you've actually got a tapered torpedo tip, you'll often find they more often will actually turn more noticeably, just because it's concentrated the those tars and smoke build up
Yeah.
in that narrowing tip or in
Yeah.
that tighter draw.
Which brings me to another great point that's worth mentioning. There's nothing wrong with cutting a cigar a second time partway through. And especially if you find there's a bit of tar on the tip, which can happen, particularly if your cigars are a bit cold, or if it just starts to taste a bit off, recutting. And it's one of the reasons why when you cut it to start with, you try not to cut off more than what you have to. You only cut off what you need to get a good draw. And that leaves you the option of a second cut, halfway through the cigar if you happen to need it. Stu's asking about the putting it down and not butting it out. So if you were to take the remnant of the cigar, let's say I was finished, if I take this and I jam it into the ashtray and I put it out in the ashtray, what I'm doing is I'm ramming a whole bunch of moisture that's built up in the tip and other things into the cherry, and I'm going to get a pretty unpleasant smell off the butt of the cigar. What you actually want to do is just put it down. It'll go out by itself over time. But what it'll do is it'll keep adding that beautiful foot smoke into the room, and you won't have rammed any of the other moisture and so forth into the cherry. So you'll end up with a much more pleasant aroma in the room when you're finished, if you literally just go, thank you very much, put it down and let it put itself out.
And that is probably a hard rule for cigar etiquette if you're actually in a group of other people smoking a cigar, so as not to affect their environment with that terrible smoke. It is polite etiquette in a group just to put the cigar down on the ashtray and leave it and let it go out on its own accord, out of respect for the others around you having a cigar as well.
Well, it's called retiring a cigar, and that's a perfect way to retire it. Just let it be. This very interesting point, Toph. That's my observation purely, that the smaller the ring gauge, it's more likely to become bitter. The thicker the ring gauge, it's more likely to stay till the end. I think anything over 48 ring gauge is more likely to go ahead for a longer period of time.
Yeah. My personal favorite cigar is the one that Damo mentioned earlier, the Oliva V Milanio in the Lancero. That's a particularly long cigar that's also a particularly narrow ring gauge. I adore that cigar, but I know before I even pull it out of the humidor to smoke it, I already know this is not one where I'm going to be burning my lips. I am going to put this down when there's still 1.5 inches left on it, because of exactly that reason. It's a narrow gauge and it's a long cigar, which means it's got a lot of time to accumulate that stuff. And there just comes a point where you just got to stop.
Yes. I think it's for me, it's still, it's got absolute zero bitterness, and it's telling
this
me
one's
that
magnificent. I'll be smoking this until it's blackened my stick here. I'm getting a very mild nicotine buzz now. I didn't have one earlier, but I'm just beginning to detect some nicotine now.
There's something wrong with your detector or sensor.
Mate, you're like those people that can eat a habanero chili just straight off the plant and chew all the seeds and go, "Where's the chili? I don't taste any chili." Like, that's you with tobacco, with nicotine. Nothing. We could inject you with nicotine; it would have no effect.
That's probably right. That's probably right. I don't remember having a nicotine preserver, but I think it's so innate in my DNA that
So the way that Omar knows when to stop smoking a cigar is when his beard catches fire. That's his cue. And then what he does is he grabs the next cigar and he lights it off his beard. And that's how he's able to just sort of keep rolling from one cigar to the next.
Keep them rolling. Keep them coming. Yeah, that's been magnificent. That's a word. That's been magnificent.
So when do you head to the States?
Monday.
Okay.
Monday. Yeah. My first conference is middle of next week that I'm speaking at. Then there's a bit of a gap. And then July's busy. I've got another conference in London at the end of June. And then I come back to the US for July 4th. Then I've got the Freedom Fest, which is the big one for the trip, in early July. And then I've got 2 more over the course of July. Actually 3 more now. I just booked another one. So it's, July's going to be busy for me, but June, I've got a bit of spare time. So I might, June's probably my best chance to go and find some cigar bars.
Cool.
Excellent.
I think I'm done with this baby.
Yeah. Wow.
It's impossible. Right. Look at that.
You know, it's funny. If you hadn't ashed on purpose, you would probably have kept the ash all the way through.
Yeah, I did that, and it holds it well.
Yeah.
Real.
Well, this question here, am I going to be joining from the States? Probably not, because I'm going to be honest, Omar is made out of sterner stuff than what I am. And his ability to tune in from anywhere in the world, find somewhere where he can smoke his cigar, freezing his nuts off, wherever it happens to be, in the middle of the night, because, our evening here is a pretty inhospitable time in other parts of the world.
What side of the States are you be mostly in? East Coast, West Coast, Central?
End of next month, I'll probably be in London. So probably the next show I'll be in London at the ARC conference. And London is not an easy place.
It'll be midnight over there.
Yeah, it's not an easy place to. There's a lot of places you're not allowed to smoke cigars at all. They do have some amazing cigar bars and venues, but I doubt that they're going to be open to just random strangers off the street at random times of the night. So I'm probably going to say very unlikely. I will look, and I will have a look and see if I can make it happen, but very unlikely.
Yeah, Roger. I've done.
Even if you're in the States, depending on which side of the States you're in, it's going to be anywhere from 4 in the morning to 7 in the morning at the moment. So,
yeah. So July's probably out as well for that reason. I mean, 7 in the morning I could get up. I'm an early riser now, so 7 in the morning is actually better for me. But come end of July, I might be back in San Diego. Actually, I'll have to look at my calendar. I might be back on the West Coast, which would be more hospitable. No, hang on. No, the East Coast would be better, wouldn't it? The East Coast would be 7 in the morning. I can't do it in my head.
As we stand at the moment, East Coast, it's currently 7:30 in the morning. West Coast, it's 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, so East Coast is better. I'll see. I'll have a look.
Unfortunately, Perdomo's Cigar Lounge won't be open that time.
No, Tony actually makes a good point. London is basically opposite us. So London will actually be kind of like 7 or 8 in the morning. Because they're just about the opposite side of the planet. They're off by about 11 hours. So that might actually be the better chance if I can find somewhere.
It's a midday right now.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. All right, I'll have a look.
The only downside is you won't have the current cigars with you. Actually, speaking of which, I should probably refresh what it is, because remember, I gave the choice and we ended up going with this pack. Just to refresh people what will be in the next pack. Omar's favourite.
Oh, hello.
Out of my personal stash.
Ooh. How much age have these got on them now?
Sorry?
How much age have those got on them now?
Probably 4 years.
4 years?
That's sorry.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, that alone is worth the price of admission out of Damo's personal stash.
The only reason I've put that one in is because we're doing the Wise Man Maduro in the firecracker.
Oh, hello. Yeah, okay. I haven't had that one yet. So
that's that. Then a couple of small ones that we're also going to be doing in the pack is the Liga Privada T52. In a little...
Oh, yes. Yeah. Do not underestimate that for its size. That is wonderful, complex flavor.
And then just the standard Liga Privada, not the T52.
Yep.
Then we have the Amazon Basin Dagger, which is that cigar there.
How are you structuring this? Are you going to sit there and smoke 3 cigars in a night?
We're going to do 2 a night for the whole month. And then the other one that we've got going into the pack is, so that's a Brazilian Puro.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted another Brazilian Puro to go with it. And the only one I could find is Villager brand, which is a machine-made cigar, but it's still a long filler cigar. and that's a little Purito-sized 4x38 box
Nice.
pressed.
Nice.
So
Very
that's the
good.
next pack.
Well, I'm sad that I'll be missing that. That's got some great sticks in it.
So what we'll probably do is do a small or big with the in
With the
two of
firecrackers?
the things, and then we'll do the 2 Brazilians on one night as well,
Yeah, nice.
so we can do a
Nice.
comparison.
Well, I'm down to proper lip burning stage. Even my spiking is not protecting my lips at this point, so I might be down to my last puff.
I'm pretty much at the same point as well. Omar's trying to not burn his fingers.
Oh yeah, that was beautiful. I'm going to retire it. So, if you do spike your cigars, you just put it down with the spike in it. Pull the spike out later when it's cool. Let it rest and say thank you very much to the hundreds of people that were involved in making that little delight happen.
Yes, absolutely.
What was that? We got about an hour 20 out of that stick. Excellent.
So what we're going to do is we're going to get Stu to write our frequently asked questions section because he's got some great questions tonight. How do newbies get an order in? Well, that's going to be through the Facebook page, Damo.
Yes, so just send us a text message through the Facebook page. We can add you to our email list at that point. Just be aware that for reasons I cannot fathom, some people will send me a text message and it won't be there, and then they send me a message another means and say, we sent you a message, did you get it? I log in, it's not there, and then 3 or 4 days later the message will suddenly appear.
Yeah, wow.
I do wonder whether it's got something to do with all the black flags that we've had against our account. So
yeah, so Facebook is not a friendly place for a cigar purveyor. We survive on YouTube and Facebook only because we are cigar education. So the main focus of what we do is this. This is what we do. We educate, we share in this hobby. And if you do want to order, then that's fantastic. Welcome. But yeah, do that through the Facebook page. But please be persistent because we've got a government that doesn't like our hobby and social media giants that also want to play nice with the government. So they also don't like our hobby.
Yeah, exactly.
That was magnificent, Damo. You continue. How many years are we in now? We started in
end of 2020, I believe we started.
2020. Yeah. So we are now 5.5 years in. 5.5 years in?
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. And you continue to put together amazing packs with cigars that haven't been in previous packs. I mean, there are some repeats, granted, but we've never had the Sun Grown and the Maduro in the Lot 23 before. There's cigars in the next pack that we haven't had before. You continue to excel yourself.
Well, there's only one cigar in that pack that we've had before out of 6. So
yeah, amazing.
So
well, Damo, over to you.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us once again. Tune in last Wednesday of every month, 8 o'clock. Also, when I send out information, I'll be sending out the links to our Rumble page so that you can join us there. Main reason being, if whatever reason we can't be on these platforms anymore, at least we've got a backup location that we can still stream from and join you every month. But we'll keep you posted as things happen.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you, gents, for joining me tonight for a fantastic cigar, and look forward to next month. And we'll get to do 2 cigars each month for the next 3 months.
Very good.
See you later.
See ya.